So thank you very much for agreeing to meet with me today. What I'd like to do, as we're fast approaching the end of financial year, is have a bit of a chat to you about what are the key considerations that organisations need to be thinking about when they're looking at their staff planning towards the end of financial year, but also what kind of things they need to be thinking about as they start looking forward to their staff needs as we enter the next financial year.
Oh, okay, thanks for the question. I think, I'm always a bit excited at the end of the financial year because a lot of people think of the new financial year as like a fresh start. So when you do start the next financial year, I think one of the key things is your business strategies and the goals that you want for your business. Just have a very clear idea of your financial targets, any ideas about, expanding into different markets, different areas. Make sure that you've got the expertise, because often the thing that holds you back is how well your staff know stuff. The skills and expertise to achieve the targets, and you've got to align your staff plan accordingly, which can be difficult when you're doing your workforce analysis, because you're looking at your growth plan. So you have to see, okay, I want to grow by, say, 10%. You need to determine, what's going to get you there and how many staff you need to get you there. But also the other thing with staffing costs, there's also bonuses, all the super going up, recruitment cost, training that you still have to take into consideration. And often that's difficult when you're going into, depending on how you went the previous financial year. You may even be looking at things like redundancy. You might have staff that basically are not performing as you'd like them to. So you need to sometimes be a little bit tough and really look at your costs and what they're costing and what they're bringing in. It sounds all a bit not very nice, but, it is a business and you are in business to make money. One of the main things that business owners like myself, or I used to be, have to look out for is your budgets. They're probably the main thing when you're going into your new financial year. So we tend to sit down and do our budgets around May or June for the next financial year. And this is where you can set all your targets, and then you look at the cost of, once you've worked out your business objectives, the staff you need, this is where you put it all together to make sure that at the end of that financial year, you've actually got, a black number, not red. You're not in the red. But often it's quite difficult because forecasting can be a bit like crystal ball. But if you've got the experience and you've been doing for a long time, you should be able to put together achievable budgets for your staff, which include all your growth plans, how many extra staff you need, bonuses you have to pay them. But on the other hand, of course, if you're going into the next financial year having had a bad year, you may even be looking at reducing costs and cutting your costs, which can also be quite difficult because that in itself would hinder your growth. So, which brings me to the talent acquisition and retention. Now, a successful business has very low staff turnover. So when you've done all your other stuff with your objectives and your strategy, look at your own staff, look at staff that you need, that you think may be able to step up and give them a career path. Identify succession planning, which is really important. Identify those staff that you feel could probably make that next step, but they just need a little bit of training and guidance and mentoring. Sometimes you don't have the resources in-house, in which case you'll need to look outside. This is one thing that is difficult, I think, for most businesses is talent acquisition. Not a lot of good candidates out there. So you need to have a pretty good strategy on how to attract candidates. And I found that part of your business strategy is probably things like that, like what do you offer, what benefits? Do you have birthdays off? Do you give training? Do you offer more holidays? Things like that to try to attract better staff. And that is one of our biggest challenges in my experience in what I've been doing is just keeping your staff. You can do not keeping them, but sort of keeping them happy, I probably should say. The other thing too is I find staff satisfaction surveys as well. So what I would do going into a new financial year, apart from all the other sort of finance and accounting and business stuff, you could do a staff survey, find out how they're feeling, and that might give you help forecast what your retention's going to look like too. So if somebody comes back saying, I hate my job, I hate my boss, you can sort of try to smooth it all along. And finally, I'd say all the compliance stuff, like you've got to make sure that you're really up to date on all the legislation, all the things you have to do to keep your business going, all the safety regulations, there's so many now with all the anti-corruption and all that sort of stuff. You really do need to be up on that, because at the end of the day, that also costs money to comply. So you need to have that in your business strategy as well. But overall, I always look at the new financial year as pretty much, if we've done well the previous financial year, pretty much a clean slate. Let's look at the growth we can do. Let's look at the objectives, what we want to achieve during that year. And it's often, like not only just increasing your profits, but also opening in new markets or opening new branches, depending on the business you're in.
Sure.
And then working all your strategy of your staffing needs and all that around it. So in a nutshell.
Thank you. That was really insightful, Anne. Thank you for giving us a summary of what businesses need to think about when planning their recruitment for the next financial year.